Gold is drawing renewed attention following what is being described as a breakout alert, with market focus now turning to a key price level of $3,000. The central question being raised is whether the $3,000 mark represents the next target for gold. This development places the precious metal firmly back into the spotlight as observers track its movement in relation to this specific threshold. The phrase breakout alert signals that gold has moved in a notable way, prompting closer examination. At the same time, the reference to $3,000 establishes a clearly defined figure that is now part of the ongoing discussion. The situation is framed around that single question: is $3,000 the next target for gold? The attention surrounding this breakout alert reflects heightened interest in price direction. A breakout, by definition, indicates movement beyond a previously observed range. In this case, gold is the asset in focus. The figure of $3,000 is not presented as a certainty, but as a potential level under consideration. The wording centers on whether that level stands as the next target. No additional projections are stated, and no time frame is specified. The emphasis remains on the existence of the alert and the question attached to it. As the market responds to this development, the spotlight remains on the numerical benchmark itself. $3,000 serves as a round and clearly defined price point. Its mention as a possible next target places it at the forefront of the conversation. The breakout alert suggests that recent price action has been significant enough to warrant attention. However, the information presented is limited strictly to the alert and the question of the next target. There are no supporting figures, no historical comparisons, and no external data provided within the scope of this statement. The framing of the issue is straightforward. Gold has triggered what is described as a breakout alert. Following that alert, discussion now centers on whether $3,000 is the next price objective. The wording does not confirm that this level will be reached. It does not specify when such a move could occur. It simply raises the possibility and positions the $3,000 figure as the focal point of interest. The structure of the message underscores uncertainty while acknowledging momentum. In financial markets, price levels often serve as reference points for traders and investors. In this case, the number in question is clearly identified. $3,000 stands as the figure under review. The breakout alert functions as the catalyst for this renewed attention. Together, these elements define the narrative. A notable movement in gold has occurred, and the next potential milestone under consideration is $3,000. No further context is supplied, and no additional claims are made. The significance of this development lies in its simplicity. Gold's movement has prompted an alert. That alert leads directly to a single, focused question about the next target. The discussion does not expand beyond that point. There is no elaboration on economic conditions, no commentary on broader market forces, and no mention of external influences. The statement remains concise and centered on the relationship between the breakout and the specified price level. For viewers and market participants, the takeaway is clear. Gold is experiencing a breakout, and attention has shifted to whether the price could reach $3,000 next. The language remains measured. It does not assert achievement of that level. It does not predict an outcome. Instead, it highlights a moment of interest and frames a question that now defines the conversation. The alert signals movement. The target signals possibility. This development establishes a clear focal point within the gold market narrative. The breakout alert introduces urgency. The $3,000 figure introduces a concrete reference. Together, they create a structured and direct message. The market is watching. The question stands: is $3,000 the next target for gold? As coverage continues, further examination will remain centered on the implications of this breakout alert and the relevance of the $3,000 level. In the next part, we will take a closer look at the details surrounding this development and the specific elements that define the breakout in question. The focus now turns to a closer examination of the breakout alert surrounding gold and the specific reference to the $3,000 level as the next possible target. The alert itself indicates that gold has moved in a way that distinguishes current price action from prior patterns. While no historical range or technical boundary is specified, the use of the term breakout confirms that a notable shift has occurred. This movement has prompted direct attention toward a clearly defined numerical benchmark, $3,000. At the center of this development is the relationship between price momentum and target identification. The breakout alert does not provide supporting statistics, timelines, or percentage gains. It simply establishes that gold has crossed or moved beyond a meaningful point of reference. The immediate follow-up question asks whether $3,000 represents the next objective. This framing keeps the discussion tightly focused. It does not extend into broader market commentary or economic interpretation. Instead, it isolates two core elements: a breakout and a potential target. The figure of $3,000 stands out because it is specific and unambiguous. It is presented not as an achieved milestone, but as a level under consideration. The language does not confirm progress toward that level, nor does it suggest inevitability. The question format maintains neutrality. It acknowledges possibility without asserting certainty. This distinction is important. The alert draws attention to movement. The question draws attention to direction. In financial reporting, the identification of a target often follows significant price action. In this case, the breakout alert signals that gold's movement has reached a point where observers are reassessing potential next steps. The reference to $3,000 provides a focal number around which discussion can revolve. However, no additional context is introduced. There are no references to prior highs, resistance levels, or comparative benchmarks. The message remains streamlined and centered exclusively on what has been stated. The absence of added detail reinforces the clarity of the headline itself. Gold has triggered a breakout alert. Following that alert, attention is now on whether $3,000 could be next. The phrasing does not expand into forecasts. It does not offer projections from institutions or analysts. It avoids commentary about supply, demand, currency markets, or macroeconomic drivers. Every element remains confined to the breakout and the identified level. This structured presentation ensures that the core meaning remains intact. A breakout implies movement beyond expectation or beyond a previously observed boundary. The alert suggests that this movement has reached a point that warrants notice. The subsequent question introduces a measurable reference point. $3,000 becomes the next level under review. The development is therefore defined by transition. Gold has moved. Now the conversation shifts to where that movement could lead, specifically to the $3,000 mark. It is also important to note what is not included. There is no time frame attached to the potential target. There is no suggestion that the move is imminent. There is no statement confirming that gold is currently near that level. The structure of the message is careful and deliberate. It highlights a price development and poses a single, focused question. That approach maintains objectivity and ensures the meaning remains clear and contained. As market participants absorb the breakout alert, the conversation remains anchored to that singular figure. $3,000 functions as a psychological and numerical reference point within the scope of this report. Its presence in the headline elevates its importance, yet it remains hypothetical. The wording preserves uncertainty while emphasizing relevance. The breakout alert therefore serves as the catalyst for renewed scrutiny. It signals that gold's price action has shifted in a meaningful way. The question of the next target introduces direction without declaring outcome. Together, these elements define the first half of this development. Gold has moved, an alert has been triggered, and attention is now firmly fixed on whether $3,000 stands as the next target. In the next segment, we will continue examining this development, maintaining focus strictly on the stated elements and their implications within the context provided. Continuing our coverage of the breakout alert surrounding gold, the discussion remains centered on the clearly defined question of whether $3,000 is the next target. The structure of this development is straightforward and consistent. A breakout has been identified. That breakout has triggered heightened attention. And as a direct result, the $3,000 level has emerged as the focal point of consideration. The term breakout carries specific meaning within financial reporting. It indicates that price action has moved in a notable manner. However, within the limits of the provided information, no technical thresholds, comparative benchmarks, or prior ceilings are described. The alert itself stands as the defining event. It confirms that gold's recent movement is significant enough to prompt closer scrutiny. Beyond that, no additional data points are introduced. The emphasis remains on what is explicitly stated: the existence of a breakout and the identification of a possible next target. The $3,000 figure is central to this discussion. It is presented clearly and without qualification. At the same time, it is framed as a question rather than a conclusion. This distinction preserves neutrality. The wording does not confirm that gold has reached this level. It does not assert that such a move is guaranteed. Instead, it asks whether this figure represents the next objective following the breakout. The conversation, therefore, remains open-ended, guided solely by the phrasing of that question. As part of this breakdown, it is important to maintain focus on the relationship between movement and milestone. The breakout alert signifies change in price behavior. The milestone of $3,000 serves as a potential reference point that could follow that change. These two elements define the entire scope of the report. There are no supplementary statistics or comparisons provided. There is no mention of percentage increases or specific trading sessions. The development is framed in its simplest form. Gold has experienced a breakout, and attention has shifted toward a clearly identified numerical level. In financial narratives, round numbers often carry significance because they are easily recognizable and widely referenced. Within this report, $3,000 functions precisely in that role. It stands as a defined figure that can be measured and observed. The breakout alert places that figure into immediate context. It does not explain how close gold currently is to that level. It does not indicate how quickly such a level could be approached. The information remains limited to the recognition of the alert and the identification of the possible target. This measured presentation ensures clarity. There is no speculation introduced. There are no added assumptions about external influences. The statement does not attribute the breakout to economic data, currency movements, or geopolitical developments. It does not describe trading volume or investor participation. It simply outlines a price event and a corresponding question. By keeping the focus narrow, the report preserves the exact factual meaning of the original statement. The continuation of this breakdown reinforces that the breakout alert is the catalyst for discussion. Without that alert, the question of a $3,000 target would not be raised within this context. The alert creates the framework. The target provides the point of reference. Together, they define the development under review. The language remains calm and authoritative, reflecting the format of a broadcast report. Gold's movement is acknowledged. The next potential level is identified. No outcome is declared. As observers follow this development, the central question remains unchanged. Is $3,000 the next target for gold? The structure of the narrative does not evolve beyond that inquiry. There are no additional figures introduced and no alternative scenarios presented. The attention stays fixed on the defined price point and the movement that has prompted this renewed focus. This concludes the detailed examination of the breakout alert and the associated $3,000 level within the boundaries of the provided information. In the final part of this report, we will summarize the key points and restate the core elements that define this development. As we conclude this report, the focus remains firmly on two central elements: the breakout alert involving gold and the question of whether $3,000 represents the next target. The information presented is clear and contained. Gold has triggered what is described as a breakout alert. In direct response to that development, attention has shifted to a specific price level. That level is $3,000. The wording surrounding this development is deliberate and measured. The breakout alert indicates that gold has moved in a notable way. However, no additional figures, timelines, or supporting data have been introduced. The $3,000 mark is not described as achieved, nor is it confirmed as imminent. It is presented strictly as a possible next target, framed in the form of a question. Throughout this coverage, the discussion has remained neutral and factual. No predictions have been offered, no assumptions have been made. The narrative has stayed within the boundaries of the original statement, focusing only on the breakout and the clearly identified price level. The central question continues to define the story. Is $3,000 the next target for gold? At this stage, that question remains open. The breakout alert has set the stage. The $3,000 figure stands as the focal point. Further developments would determine how this situation unfolds. For now, the market's attention is centered on this specific threshold and the movement that has brought it into consideration. That concludes our report on gold's breakout alert and the $3,000 target in focus.